Hello and welcome. I'm Jay.
And I'm Robbie.
And you're joining us for episode 32 of Generations Apart, the show where we talk about technology and gaming across the generations, sharing our perspectives on the past and our excitement for the future. On today's episode, we're trying to rank the top 50 games of all time from Metacritic, based on their rankings. So come and join us and see whether or not you can beat me and Robbie in our attempts to rank the best 50 games ever made. Before we get into this, though, Robbie, as we always do, what's piqued your interest this week?
So this week I saw quite a quick clip on YouTube Shorts, and it got me into investigating something that could be quite exciting. So a guy called his channel is UFD Tech had a very quick short chatting about the handheld that was announced by PlayStation, Project Q. And how it wasn't received amazingly by the community, and I think it's because it's a streaming only device. So this is a device that basically looks like a PlayStation controller with a screen stuck in the middle. And he talks about in this short clip that Qualcomm have reached out to Sony to express interest in helping them develop an actual PSP or a portable gaming device that isn't just for streaming. And so it might be the start of the next version of the PSP is basically what he's insinuating in the video, and drilling up a bit of hype around that. So hopefully the community can push Sony to dive into this as well. But yeah, I thought it was a cool announcement, and I found an article on it to find a little bit more detail, and it sounds like the Qualcomm did indeed reach out to PlayStation, but also Nintendo to help out with their handheld devices. So it seems like it's not Sony specifically that they were targeting, but Qualcomm have some great mobile gaming chips or processors generally. So it could be quite a cool device if Sony actually take them up on the offer of developing the next PSP.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got to be honest, the Project Q is a curious one.
Wonder if Q is for Qualcomm.
Yeah, could be. I don't know whether this interests me or not. I feel like when it's on a shelf, I'm going to find myself very tempted to buy one, even though I absolutely don't need it. But it does feel like a miss that it's, like you said, purely basically it's a Wii U gamepad. It's just a window into your PS5.
Yeah.
And you need to be somewhere near it realistically to be able to experience it. If they could make that mobile, I think it would be far better for the product. But
yeah.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't think that Project Q will be changing, but it'd be interesting to see if Qualcomm can come up with something and can convince PlayStation to take one more dip into the mobile space. They've been burnt, unfortunately, haven't they, with the PSP and then the PS Vita. Vita specifically was quite a powerful device, but really didn't sell that well.
Yeah.
But then wasn't supported. I mean, PSVR 2 is in a similar position at the moment. Questions around what PlayStation's roadmap for that device looks like. So they don't have a particularly good track record when it comes to supporting these kind of spin-offs from their mainline gaming hardware. But we'll have to wait and see.
That'd be cool though. I'd be excited to try out a new PSP, I guess. Especially if they're going to compete with the likes of the Steam Deck and the new potentially Switch 2 that's supposed to be coming out at some point next year. Could be an interesting space to be in. The Super Switch, yeah. Yeah,
I saw someone rumored the Super Switch. That's the difference, isn't it? When the PSP and the Vita were out, they were trying to hack at Nintendo and their handheld market, and you could argue Nokia with their awful N-Gage. Now that kind of handheld market is much more competitive. Having said that, with PlayStation's library of content, if they could make that work, and you could take your games you buy on the PS5 truly on the go, even with an accessory, that could be really compelling because their library is what makes PlayStation compelling. It's not the hardware particularly.
Yeah.
But who knows? Interesting to follow that.
There you go. What's piqued your interest then, Jay?
So this has become a bit of a problem for me, Robbie, I'll be brutally honest. So this is perhaps a little bit of therapy as well. I have been adding to my collection, as you might be able to see behind me, but perhaps not what you might expect. I have been getting into originally gaming history in print. So I was looking for the age-old magazine, something that I used to love when I was a kid. Nothing excited me more than going to the newsagents and picking up a magazine, especially a gaming magazine, and kind of flicking through and seeing what was going on. Now, I fully appreciate those are irrelevant these days, but there is a lot of fantastic kind of history captured in these magazines. I thought they'd be really cheap. They're not. Collecting old game magazines is incredibly expensive, as you can imagine. Probably many of them were binned back in the day. No one thought they'd need to keep that, so there aren't many around, and those people who've got them in good condition hoard them and cherish them and price them highly. So I had to swiftly move on from that. But then I started to find myself going down a rabbit hole of strategy guides, because they in themselves are kind of history in print when it comes to video games, but they're also practical and they're fun. And I owned them. So I spent a bit of time, first of all, seeking this little fella out.
Wow. God, that does look like in good condition as well.
I've got to be honest, I got very lucky with this one. I think the person selling it didn't really know what they had. This is the, for those who are listening on audio only, the Pokemon Yellow Prima Official Strategy Guide. Now, when I was younger, I played the death out of my Game Boy, and these Pokemon games were the thing I spent most of the time on. And just sort of flicking through, and I'll show for the camera, hop over to YouTube and check it out. Just the sort of retro nature of these. It's fascinating, and I've ended up going down a rabbit hole and purchasing quite a few strategy guides over the last few weeks to games on the N64, on the Game Boy, right through to more modern games. So back in the day, I have to confess that I relied solely on a strategy guide to help me complete The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker on the GameCube, because there's a certain point in that game where you have to go fishing for artifacts, and trying to know where to go fish was quite challenging, and I cheated. I turned to a strategy guide. Well, took information.
That is cheating.
Is it? Well, anyway, so they've moved on a bit in recent years. This beefy book here, that is the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom official strategy guide, which I got very recently.
Wow.
This thing is thick.
There's
a lot going on here. But they are still as kind of gorgeous as ever when it comes to, how they display and sort of memorize games. I guess they're like if you look at that, quite incredible. So strategy guides, good ones, and there's a few companies in the mix here. So I think this one is by, I think it's Piggyback. I might have that wrong. Yeah, Piggyback. So Piggyback were quite big still in the gaming strategy guides. Back when I was younger, it was Prima, and there's a couple of others along the way. But both of those manufacturers make really high quality strategy guides. There are some cheap ones out there that are more like magazines, cheap paper, cheap feel, cheap quality, but their strategy guides are always really good. And I just wanted to share that problem that I've got right now, Robbie, which is buying these bloody things up. So I've got, I think, all the strategy guides for all of the games in the Metal Gear series, all of the mainline original Gears of War trilogy.
Yeah.
I've got multiple Zeldas. I've got various Marios. You can kind of see them over one of my shoulders. Yeah. And a few others that I've picked up along the way, some slightly more obscure ones like L.A. Noire, because I never played it and completed it, but I own it. So I thought that could be fun one day, maybe, if I ever go back to it. So I just thought I'd share that. They vary wildly in price, depending on the game and the condition.
Yeah.
But I've picked up some cheap ones. I've paid a little bit more for some others. I've got one coming in the post, which wasn't mega expensive, but it was for Street Fighter 2. And it was the Expert Player's Guide. I never owned that one as a kid. Most of the ones I bought, I did own. But the Street Fighter one I thought was really curious because it's going back to the Super Nintendo era. That's really probably one of the oldest ones alongside the Pokemon games that I'll own. And I'm just interested to see how these things have evolved, how they've changed, the language that they use. Some of the magazines back in the day were bonkers. So I just thought I'd share that new interest I've got. So I haven't stopped collecting the games. But honestly, it's getting harder and harder to sort of fill the desirable list that I've got.
Yeah. Just
because the games that are left are getting kind of silly expensive, and I'm just not prepared to pay kind of eBay prices for some of these things at the moment. The market's quite high. It's starting to come down on retro games, but it's still pretty high at the moment. So I've turned to guides for now.
Excellent.
So
Yeah,
we'll see
very
how that
cool.
goes.
Very cool.
So,
It's a whole realm I haven't really delved into, but it feels like it could be quite a rabbit hole. If there's a game that you're really into, getting the strategy guide for it would be quite a nice addition, wouldn't it? You get a lot of the context, some additional things about the game, maybe some behind the scenes development stuff, which I love reading about as well. You got me thinking actually about some of the games I might enjoy a strategy guide for. Things like the Last of Us and some of the more story driven games would be great
yeah,
to have a guide like that, I think.
The Last of Us has definitely got strategy guides. They're on my kind of one-day list. Maybe I'll pick them up. The Witcher 3 has got a really good one, a really chunky one that sells for quite a lot. Back in the day, I have fond memories of Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
and the strategy guides were almost an essential purchase with those because you could play through the game and finish it without them. But if you wanted to do all the hidden quests, get all the master weapons, etc., you needed the guide to find all these hidden nuggets. And a friend of me would sit for hours playing through the Final Fantasy games. He would often drive, so to speak, and I'd sit with the guide and we would just chat, flick through the book, find hidden secrets, work out how to defeat enemies. And, it used to be, hours and hours of childhood enjoyment. So I just thought I'd pick a few of these up and rekindle some of those memories. I do want to get my kids into some of these games, like Pokemon specifically. So
Yeah.
I think I told you I recently swapped out the batteries in my games and resoldered new ones to give them new life. And, I hope to be able to put the guides and the games to some use soon with the kids. But
Nice.
there you go. Something a bit different for me this week. But I thought
cool.
I'd share that newfound problem I have.
Very, very cool. And a whole new set of collectibles that I'm suddenly interested in as well. So thanks for that.
You should go check it out. You should check it out. So, shall we get into this slightly different, but hopefully fun and challenging episode? So, effectively, what we've done, and you can play along at home if you want to. So, we're going to put all 50 games in alphabetical order into the show notes so that you can go and pick them up if you'd like to play along. Pop them into some sort of document, Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is you like to use, and see whether you can beat us at this particular game. I don't expect that, Robbie, we're going to do very well here, but we'll explain what we're going to try and do. So maybe not too difficult for those listening to beat us, but something you can interact with and play along. So if you do want to play, pause us right now, go and grab those files, maybe spend 5-10 minutes thinking about how you would reorder them. I'll give you a sample of some of the games that are in there in a moment. And then, Robbie, we're going to talk about them. We're going to debate between us our own personal lists and try and agree on or negotiate a preferred list between us. And then at the very end of the episode, we'll reveal what the top 50 actually was and see how well we did. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good. I would be terrible at this. Mostly because there's a bunch on the list that I did not know at all.
That's fair. And I'll be honest, there were a couple in there that threw me as well. Probably not as many as you. But then I'm a little older than you, so I go back a little further. So I'll give you, for those listening, a sample of what's in the list, but I won't read all 50 out. We'll, of course, discuss them as we go. So we've got things like Baldur's Gate, Bioshock, Elden Ring, GoldenEye, Grand Theft Auto, various different flavours. And I should point out at this point, there are some duplicate games in the list in terms of the consoles they were released on. So Grand Theft Auto 5 is a perfect example. There are 5 entries in this list of Grand Theft Auto 5, both PC, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360 and Xbox One. We're not going to try and rank them all individually. For this purpose, we've consolidated them and we will place them based on the highest ranking entry in the list. So that's how we'll work it at the end. Few of the games: Half-Life, Halo, Metal Gear Solid, Perfect Dark, Red Dead Redemption, Resident Evil, Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda, multiple titles, The Orange Box, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, again, multiple titles. So
The first 3.
I'll be on the first 3. I'll be on. Oh, I thought you meant the first 3 is in the first 3 in the list. I was going to say it's a bold claim to put Tony Hawk's 1, 2,
Tony
and
Hawk's
3.
1, 2, and 3. That was my guess
I thought
already.
that might be your list. So those are the games. And what Robbie and I have done before recording it is we've both on our own had a go at putting these into order. I'll be honest, it was way harder than I thought it was going to be, and I'm not confident.
Me neither.
So, we're going to try and negotiate our own agreed list. We'll probably try and apply a bit of logic. We'll try and talk about the games if we've got any memories of them, of course, as we go along. But ultimately, we want to get these into an order and then see how we did at the end.
Yeah.
So, if you're ready to go, Robbie, and for those listening, shall we have a crack at this? And I thought it might be appropriate to start at the bottom and work up to number 1, if you agree.
Yeah. Are we... Do you want me to bring it up on the screen? Because I've got mine, and then with the official one, and we're going to mark it off as we go.
Well, don't. Yeah, we'll just mark it on your list as we go. We don't need to bring it up on screen because obviously that's going to kind of disadvantage anyone who's only on the audio. But we can sort of share our final list at the end, perhaps, and put that on screen.
Right.
So, Robbie, what was at the bottom of your list?
So I'm now regretting it. There were so many things I moved around, but at the bottom of my list is Mass Effect 2. What I put at the bottom.
Wow. Okay. Any particular reason?
It's not a thing that I know much about, and it's not something that I remember seeing lots talked about. So my assumption was that it's not perhaps as popular as some of the other things on the list.
That's sound logic. My memories of Mass Effect, so I'll be honest, it's much higher up my list. It's in the top half. Mass Effect 2 is generally considered to be the best of the trilogy.
Yeah.
And was sort of very well reviewed back in the day. Probably not top of the list reviewed. And I'm not saying you're wrong because I obviously don't know the answer, but I would be surprised if it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
However, could be completely wrong. So I'll tell you what I put at the bottom, and then we'll decide whether we want to put either one down there. I've never heard of this. So if this is like top tier, I apologise. The House in Fata Morgana, Dreams of the Revenant Edition, Switch. I've never heard of that game, so just assumed it had crept in.
Just as I told you what one of my bottom was, I spotted that in the list, and I don't remember actually putting a number next to the House of Fata Morgana. So I think I probably agree with you that is probably the bottom. I've never heard of it neither.
Okay, so we'll be led by you, by the way, if there's any gaps at the end. So are you happy to put that down at the bottom of our list?
I'm happy with that.
I think you said that when consolidated, there was actually, 29, was it? 39 entries in the list.
39, yeah.
So that's at 39 then, I guess, for that purpose.
Yes.
Where did you go from there? Or is that now Mass Effect 2?
No. I went, again, I think there's some others in there that could probably be less popular than this, but I actually went with the Grand Theft Auto double pack as the second from last. So I think that's the first two. Right?
So no, I don't think it is, because it says it's on Xbox, doesn't it?
Original Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah, but that could be that, right?
But I think the double pack from memory was GTA 3 and GTA Vice City.
Ah. Okay.
I think. Because PS1 was the original top-down Grand Theft Auto, of which there were a couple. But I think because PS2 got the games exclusively for a period before Xbox, when they both came to Xbox, I think they were ported as part of a pack. And I only know that, or at least I only believe that, because at one point I looked at them in a store and nearly bought them as a double pack.
Yeah.
So it's the only reason that I know they were sold that way. I had them in the list a little bit higher up because I think all the Grand Theft Auto games probably are quite high. I had the double pack at 22 in my list.
Ooh, that's much higher than mine.
But my numbering's slightly off compared to yours because my numbers go from 50 up to 40, then jump to 27 because I was kind of working from either end of the list as I consolidated in. So 22 would put it on the lower end of my list.
What's interesting, though, about the fact that we weren't really looking at the consoles for each of these releases, mostly because I consolidated them and just removed other consoles. But if that is the first time that these games came to Xbox because they were originally exclusives, then actually I think it would be much more popular.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because a lot of these games, you have to bear in mind, they're not scored and compared to each other. So no one's re-evaluating GTA 3 and going, well, by modern standards, it's not as good as GTA 5.
Yeah. I remember it being very good at the time, though.
Oh, and absolutely. But what my point, I guess, is that the scores are set, or reviews are set in a moment in time, at which point you've got to look at what was going on around the game and the context it was being released in. As of course, GTA 3 would have scored a lot higher than if it was released today and put alongside comparative games. But the other thing about the double pack is, and the reason why I put it slightly lower down than some of the other Grand Theft Auto titles, is that realistically, by the time it was ported to Xbox, it had already been out for quite a long time on the other consoles. So was it reviewed as it was reviewed when it was released? Was it reviewed in context of the games around it at the time? Was that a particularly big span of time? I don't actually know. So no, I think you could be onto something in terms of it being the lower end of the list. I don't know if it's literally like, the next one
the
up.
second last, yeah.
But it might be. So I'll throw mine to the mix. I'd got NFL 2K1 2001 on the Dreamcast.
Interesting.
I know that some of the sports. Well, and I don't. I'm not saying I'm right. I know a lot of the sports games tend to come into these lists in weird places, and often higher than you might expect. I know absolutely nothing about NFL 2001 because I don't play NFL games, and I didn't own that many games on the Dreamcast. So if you got a reason to believe that's higher, I am completely willing to accept that as the direction of travel.
I feel like that would be higher. It feels like there aren't many sports ones on here, but the sports ones I think tend to they have the mass appeal, don't they, for a lot of people who might not be traditionally into games. And it's kind of the blending of worlds. So I assumed that was going to be a bit higher. But then what else could be there? Is the question. Maybe like Disco Elysium's on the list.
I got that one at quite low. So I got that only a few places up. So I'm quite content to sort of condemn that to the bottom end. Although I know it was well received as a game, but a bit of an indie hit, wasn't it? I think difficult to score. Shall we?
We go Disco
try
Elysium.
And put. Yeah, let's put Disco Elysium then at 38. So second from bottom. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Shall we put some numbers against the other two so that we're not talking about games and then not doing anything with them? So where do you want to put the double pack?
In the 30s, I think.
In the 30s? Should we go somewhere around the 30 mark?
Yeah, I'd say around the 30 mark.
Okay. And then NFL 2001, you think's higher. So where do you put that?
But
high?
Yeah,
wow, okay.
Yeah, maybe in the 20s.
Let's we stick it at 20 for now and then see where other games come in. We can always move things around.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, controversially, bottom end of my list, as we're sort of picking up from the bottom, I had got here The Legend of Zelda, The Twilight Princess on the GameCube.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of Zelda games on this list.
There are a lot.
For those who are looking at the list. I think Twilight Princess was...
5.
From memory, Twilight Princess was the one that released on the Wii and the GameCube. It crossed the consoles. But on the Wii, it had motion controls, and I don't know how it controlled on the GameCube. I don't know if it's actually any good or not.
There are a lot of Zelda games. I'm going to entirely lean on you for the Zelda and the...
That's a lot of pressure.
Super Mario series as well, because I couldn't tell you which one were the new ones, old ones.
Let's put it in then. Let's just get this one in and quickly. Let's commit this one to the bottom end of the list. I think of all the Zelda games, this one probably reviewed the worst.
Cool.
I could be wrong, though, I'll be honest. I didn't really play much of Twilight Princess. I played a lot of the others, but that one never really did it for me. But that was because it was on the Wii. And at the time, I was very much kind of into different things. I was 360, etc. by then. What had you got kind of around the bottom then? So I've got one other bit before Disco Elysium, but what have you got down there?
I had Perfect Dark. Again, because it's a game I haven't really heard much about or played or anything.
So I had that quite a bit further up my list. Not massively, but a bit further. This purely and simply because although I would fundamentally, nostalgia-wise, disagree and say that GoldenEye is the superior shooter of the two, they both released on N64 and Perfect Dark came after GoldenEye.
Yeah.
My assumption would be that they would have revised issues with GoldenEye and improved them for Perfect Dark and then obtained a better score. But I could be completely wrong. So I got Perfect Dark a little higher up. I'll tell you what I got down the bottom and then we can agree what we're going to put there.
Sure.
I got Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. I put it high up, I think, just because I like that game.
Well, that's absolutely fair. I didn't really play it. I think I played sequels, but never played the first one. Of course, putting these down the bottom end doesn't make them bad because they are the top 50 games of all time.
True.
This is quite difficult. I just wondered whether it was better than some of the other ones on the list. so I'd got it further down the list. Where had you got Soul Calibur?
Oh, I had it like 14.
Wow, we were far apart again then. Shall we go somewhere in the middle again?
Yeah. Mid-20s?
You pick. Yeah, you call a number and I'll run with it.
We'll go 28.
Okay, and Perfect Dark. What are we thinking there then?
Again, I don't know.
Do you think it's scored less than GoldenEye?
I haven't heard of it, so I'm assuming it's not as popular as GoldenEye.
I've got the strategy guide behind me.
Do you actually?
I do.
Go, part of your collection.
So I owned it. It's a difficult one because Perfect Dark, I think I've said this before, was one of a handful of games on the N64 that required the jumper pack, the additional memory pack that had to be bought and inserted into the console. I have Perfect Dark. I have my version from when I was a kid. I don't like it as much as GoldenEye, but I know it was well liked. So I tell you, I'm going to concede. Let's take it. Let's put Perfect Dark at the bottom.
Yeah.
Put it down the bottom then. Yeah, towards the bottom, wherever the next gap was. I'm happy to run with that.
Cool.
Now, my next suggestion is going to upset some of our friends, specifically Sam. I put Baldur's Gate 2 Shadow of Arm on the PC. I put that down the bottom because I've never played it and I've never really read much about it. It's PC, it's outside of my wheelhouse. It's not a game genre that I'm particularly into. What about you?
I put it middle of the road, but mostly because I wasn't sure. I think my my perception of it is tainted just from recent conversations with our D&D group about how the new version's coming out and how much they love the original version. And so I think the popularity of it has gone up in my estimations because of those conversations. But before that, I hadn't even heard of it as a game, and certainly hadn't played it. So it's hard to tell. I think that also could be quite low on the list. Looking at the rest on the list, I'd agree with you. I think that could be quite low.
Throw me an alternative that you've got down the bottom then.
Again, the ones I've got down there, I'm not sure now. Well, I had GTA 4 down on the list, pretty low.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember that wasn't nearly as popular as GTA 3 or 5.
I've got GTA 4 above GTA 3, but only by one position.
Oh.
So I had it in and around 17 with GTA 3 at 18.
Interesting.
So I remember GTA 4 being quite popular.
You think? Oh, okay, fair.
I don't know. I mean, again, I suppose you're looking at popular with critics, not necessarily popular with our mates at school.
True.
Or college. So it's different, isn't it? What critics look for versus what I look for. And this was the challenge with this kind of game, was I was trying to rank things. I was trying to be objective and not be sort of I like that, so it's at the top. Yeah. I was thinking, what was the context when it was released? What might the critics have thought of it? I probably got it awfully wrong as well, to be honest. I've probably tried to be too clever. Shall we put then... Shall we just go for it? Shall we put Baldur's Gate and then GTA 3 at the bottom end of the list? Or do you want to? Would you argue that either one needs to be further up?
I'd agree with Baldur's Gate.
I feel like GTA 4 being that far below some of its other competitors will be wrong, but we can always find out at the end. That's part of the fun.
Why don't we go early 30s then for that one?
Okay. Led by you.
Cool.
What else is wallowing towards the bottom? Because I guess we're still in that region of the bottom 10-ish games on your list. What have you got down there?
Batman Arkham City. Pretty low down.
Interestingly, that is exactly the next game on my list. I don't think we even need to debate it.
There we go.
I was really surprised to see... Well, actually, no, I'm thinking about it. I played and completed Arkham Asylum and really liked it. Arkham City turned me off straight away. I didn't really get into it. But I know it was generally considered to be better in most ways than Arkham Asylum, and then it went downhill for what? Arkham Knight was the trilogy completer, I think. Okay. So I'm content. I also had that fairly low down. Lock that one in?
Yeah, done.
Now, my next one pained me, I'll be honest. But it was GoldenEye.
Really? No. I've got that really high up. I've got that top 10.
Really? Okay. I think that GoldenEye, as good as it's remembered, probably didn't review absolute god tier like some of these other games will have. It is my belief, but my love for it is not. This is not appropriate to where I would put it from my heart's perspective. So
Go with
I'm
your heart,
happy
Jay.
to.
I think it's more popular,
Let's go with my heart then. Let's leave that one for now. Let's come back to it. I'm not sure it's top 10, I'll be honest. I think there are other games in here that would absolutely push that out the top 10.
Yeah.
And might be willing to go 15.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do that then? 15.
Should we try 15?
Yeah.
I think there were some games in here that, from a critic perspective, will just be immovable at the top end. What did you have next?
Next, I actually had Gran Turismo.
Interesting. So I didn't have that too much higher up, to be honest. Maybe only 4 or 5 places higher up the list. What was your logic?
I knew it's a popular series, but I didn't know how popular the original one was, really.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's in the list makes it the most popular of all of them.
I mean, yes, true.
But yeah, I didn't. So my Gran Turismo love was GT2 and GT3. I was a bit late to the game with GT1, but I know it was incredibly popular. My logic for putting it a bit further down the list in general was that I don't think it's probably going to have scored as well as some of the kind of big critic loved games in here.
That's what I was
just because
thinking
it's
as
a
well.
sports game and they don't tend to. So I'm pretty comfortable with it being somewhere in the kind of early 30s, late 20s would be somewhere in my head, I think.
Yeah. I'll put it.
What have you got?
29, something like that.
Okie doke.
Oh, do you think it's more or less popular than Soul Calibur?
I'd be inclined to say more, just because I think it was the first of its kind.
Let me put it as 26 then.
Whereas I think there were other better fighting games in the mix by the time Soul Calibur was out.
Yeah.
I got BioShock down the bottom end.
I have that pretty low down. But not next bottom.
What have you got next bottom?
To be honest, I listed a bunch of the Zeldas I hadn't heard of.
Okay.
But they were entirely led by you, so I put Tears of the Kingdom and Wind Waker.
So Tears of the Kingdom is the latest one and probably the best reviewed. Maybe not. I'll be blown away if it's that low. I could be wrong, but I'll be blown away if Tears of the Kingdom's that low. So, ironically, my 1, 2, 3 is Ocarina of Time, Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
So I've put 3 Zeldas at the very top of my list.
Oh, okay. Right. Wow.
I'm not convinced that's right, but that's what I've put at the top of my list.
I'll go with you on that one. So where was Tears of the Kingdom?
Well, don't lock them in yet, but I think to put Tears of the Kingdom at the bottom end would be a mistake.
Okay.
Also, it's very new, so it won't have amassed as many critical scores as other longer standing games, and therefore it's probably going to have a more consistent high score.
Okay.
Would be my logic. So, what else did you got down the bottom? Forget the Zelda ones for now, because I don't think any of the Zelda ones are probably that low. Could be wrong, but I don't think any of them are.
Tekken 3 is the other one I had pretty low down.
I got that just above BioShock. I thought Tekken 3 probably reviewed better than Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
But not by much. So I'd got it a couple of places higher up.
Okay.
So I'd be willing to go Tekken 3 in and around here somewhere.
Yeah. And then BioShock worse than Tekken, do you think? I think that's probably right, actually.
I mean, I know BioShock was well received. I didn't really play it, so I've got no kind of personal feelings towards it. I just don't think it would be as high as some of the other games around it. Could be wrong, though.
I'd agree with that.
I then had Perfect Dark, which I think we've already placed.
Mm-hmm.
And then next one for me, you won't like this, was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Oh, no, that's definitely wrong. Pro Skater 3 was the most popular of them all.
Was it? More so than 2? I don't know why I had in my head that 2 was more popular.
I
didn't really like them, so
90% sure that the third one was the most popular one. So I think that out of all,
I'm happy to be overruled.
Yeah.
So I'd got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 with another game in the middle, and then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, both under Gran Turismo. So sounds like you do not agree.
Interesting.
I know at least one of them was quite high up, and I did put one of them a good bit further up. but and also the
I've got
consoles
Tony
for
Hawk's Pro
these.
Skater 3 as one of top 10.
Okay, I'm happy to overrule because I don't have any fond memories of that.
I'd agree.
Should
Maybe
we
one of the other
bring
20 Pro.
another one down? Then, if you said 2 was not as good, I think the 2 here was also Dreamcast, which I'd be blown away if that was top 10. Dreamcast
Again, though, that
didn't
might be the
generally
first one that
score
came
that
to it.
well. Yeah, but it's the only version in this list. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 doesn't have another entry in this list, so that's the highest reviewing version of that game.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be. Should we swap? So we move that one down to the lower end.
Yeah, I feel like it probably was a better game, but I think the original would have been. It was like the first of its kind, really. So it was groundbreaking, probably very highly rated.
That's what I thought. The first one was probably because it was PlayStation as well.
Yeah.
PS1. So shall we move 2 down then? Put 2 towards the bottom end, and then I'll be. Where do you want to put Pro Skater 3 then? I'd got Pro Skater 2 in at around number 10. So you said you had Pro Skater 3 in your top 10. Do we put it in top 10?
I had Pro Skater 2 at 10. Exactly.
I think 2 needs to come down the list. I don't think a Dreamcast game would be top 10.
Pro Skater 3 was at 6. I was
wow. I don't think
overconfident.
Do you know what though? I don't think you're probably massively wrong. I'd got it at 10. Should we split the difference and go for something like 8?
I think 10 actually sounds more realistic, to be fair, looking at the other games here.
I don't know. I do think that I know that there is a Tony Hawk's somewhere in the top end of one of these charts, and it's really obscure. So, well, to me, it was obscure. I would be tempted to put it a little higher. I'm happy to move it up a little bit. Should we go for 8? Because I had 6. You had 6. I had 10. Let's split the difference on 3. And let's make sure it's in that top 10.
Okay.
But I do think 2 needs to go further down the list somewhere.
Yeah, I've moved that up to like 27.
Okay. I then had the Portal Companion Collection on Switch, which I figure is probably a good collection. I know Portal is really well thought of, but if it's releasing on Switch, that's quite a lot. That's quite a few years after its original release. The orange box was what it was originally part of. Would people be as bothered about Portal standalone on Switch as they would be the orange box? I don't know. So I had it a little bit further down the list than orange box.
I had it higher than the orange box, but
wow.
I wasn't aware that it was on Switch. So for context, I'd taken out the console.
Removed all of the consoles. Yeah, so that's on the Switch, the companion collection. Which I assume, but I don't know, is Portal 1 and Portal 2.
Maybe. I
Maybe.
imagine so.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they didn't do any kind of remaster with it, although it is a whole new audience.
Yeah, again, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think probably next in the list.
What number are we on? So I'd got Half-Life quite a bit higher up because Half-Life's quite popular. I'd got that in at around 13, mainly because one of them was PC. Well, I got them both together, PC and I put them side by side.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know because again, Half-Life 2 is part of the orange box, so I assume the orange box would be the more compelling, higher scoring. Because didn't Orange Box also have Team Fortress in it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just thought that would be the better of all of them. I put that the highest. But I don't know.
I know a lot of people that had that Orange Box, but it's because they loved the original games that were already in it.
Well, weren't they all released in it? I don't think the Orange Box was a collection that came afterwards. I think they all came out together.
I thought it came to a console or.
I don't know. Maybe Half-Life 2 came out on PC and then they bundled them all for console. I'm pretty sure Portal only came in the orange box.
Really?
And then Portal 2 was a separate release. I tell you what, if any hardcore gamers watch this back, we're going to be screamed at in the comments for the amount of inaccuracies that are probably in this.
You're the proper gamer here as well. I'm the fake gamer, apparently. So.
I'm the game enthusiast. I'm not a gamer. I don't have time to be a gamer.
Okay,
so it sounds like we're a bit of an impasse here. So do we think...
I'm happy with Portal Companion Collection next.
Yeah? What does that number put it at?
25.
Okay.
That feels about right.
Yeah. I got it in at 26. So...
Yeah.
Because all of mine are now basically in order. We've bridged the weird divide in how I decided to go about doing the list. So, what
Orange
did you
box
have?
then?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's that. I got it in I got Orange Box at number 6.
Well, if it is the only way to access those games, then I probably would have it higher, to be fair. I tell you what, I do
questioning it now. Because Half-Life 1 and 2 are both on here, but they're both PC.
Yeah. Half-Life 2 is in the bundle as well. So they were released separately.
But the bundles, the Orange Box on here is the PC Orange Box and the 360. And I know it was really popular on 360. What else had you got around that bottom? Well, I guess where we are now, that kind of moving towards the midpoint. What did you got next?
I actually had some maybe controversial ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I had Elden Ring.
This entire episode's going to be controversial.
Oh, yeah.
Elden Ring. Wow.
I did have Elden Ring. I know it's...
I got that at number 4.
Really?
It won Game of the Year, and it was massively raved about last year.
Yeah, then I'm wrong.
But I don't know, in the grand scheme of all-time scores.
That's the thing, is I don't know whether it was...
Well, in the modern day, the problem is there are more companies now doing video game journalism and reviews than ever before that contribute to Metacritic scores. So it's probably harder to maintain a higher average with so many more critics.
Yeah.
So maybe I was overambitious with Elden Ring at the top.
I don't know whether it would be that high. Because I don't... Yeah, I knew it was a good... I knew it was highly rated-ish, but I didn't think it was preferred compared to their previous games.
Or over Dark Souls and stuff like that. Well, I think it is by virtue of the fact that none of those games are in the list. There's no Bloodborne. There's no Dark Souls.
That's a very good point. It probably is up there then.
I don't think I suppose maybe you've got me questioning number 4 now. I tell you what, let's compromise. Put it down the bottom end, and we'll see where it ends up in the final list. I'm now questioning it the more we talk about it as to whether or not I've overranked it.
I'll put it at 19 for now, which is
okay.
Upper middle.
I think that's fair. So while we're at that bottom end, I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater near to Portal, but you felt that was a bit higher. The first one.
I'm trying to think what else what else could be that area. Yeah, we haven't done Orange Box yet, have we? I think it's more popular than Orange Box.
You think so?
Yeah.
I've got them quite far apart on my list.
Really?
Yeah. I assumed it would have reviewed okay, but it's still going to be bound to the PlayStation's capabilities. I don't know. But I was never into those things. No, well, I'm happy to move it up the list. I don't know that I want to bury Orange Box at 24 or whatever it is we're at there. I feel like Half-Life. I feel like Half-Life or Half-Life 2 should be down there first.
Yeah. I think they would be next on my list as well. The Half-Lives.
Should we go for Half-Life 1 and 2 and make the sin of putting them next to each other?
Yeah, we'll assume that they're right next to each other.
It's probably massively wrong.
Which ones?
I've got a couple of games here that are higher up because of pure love, and I must admit I know that they're not where they should be.
Is Half-Life 2 you're thinking's higher rated than the first?
I think Half-Life 2 is probably better than the first one. I would have thought because it's also the one
been
more
brought
people
in that
talk
bundle,
about.
You'd assume it's worth.
I'd have thought so.
More than the first.
I'd have thought so. So then I had got Gran Turismo, which we've already talked about. Then I had the Elder Scrolls Skyrim at 23.
That low, really?
I will confess, though, I saw Elder Scrolls, didn't read Skyrim, and thought it was one of the earlier games.
Oh, okay.
I still, though, don't know that... I know how popular Skyrim is. In fact, I don't even have... This is the only one on the list that doesn't have its platform next to it either. And that's difficult for Skyrim because it's been released on everything. And in my list, for some reason, I'm missing that. I don't know if I accidentally deleted it. I'm just checking the master list.
Maybe it was released all at the same time. Maybe that's why. Maybe the distinguishers, when it's between devices, it's done at different times.
I don't know, but Grand Theft Auto would have been released on most of its consoles at once, wouldn't it?
No, they re-released it a bunch of times on different consoles.
They did, but PS3 and Xbox 360 were the same time, and they're differentiated.
Oh, okay.
I'll go with you that I hadn't clocked it said Skyrim, and therefore that probably does go higher up. So I then got the Grand Theft Auto double pack, but I think we've already placed that. Is that right?
Yes, we've already placed that.
And then, much to my pain, I'd got Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty.
I actually had that because, again, my perception of how popular that game was is a bit skewed by conversations with you. I put that at around like 16.
Yeah, I'd got it at 21.
Oh, well, you had it. Yeah, you were much more reasonable than me, I guess. It won't be 21 in our list now. In fact, actually, will it? Yeah, it will be. But I'll ask you, just because it's the next one in line, more or less popular than NFL 2K1?
I would hope to God it was more popular.
I'm putting it at 20 then.
But I don't know. I mean, weirder things have happened. What have you got down that lower end then? Let's flip it back to you for a minute.
I actually have GTA 3 down here as well.
I've got that at 18. I'm quite content to move that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would that put it in the list?
Well, actually, that would be 18 next, because we've got Elden Ring. Oh, it's going to be less popular than Elden Ring, though.
I would have thought so.
I'm going to put that as 19 and have Elden Ring as 18. We're shifting things around.
I'm still... Are we missing some here? Because mind you, I've still got quite a chunk of games here. I'm still at like number 20-ish on my list. And you said we're at 18?
Yeah, we've dotted them about. I'm going to have to do some consolidating, I think, when I sort this list.
Have we got any lower down that are not... Any that we've not put number scores against, like in the 30s or something? It feels like we might have a few.
No, we've got 39. So 39, House of Fata. 38, Disco Elysium. 37, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. 36, Perfect Dark. 35, Baldur's Gate. 34, Batman Arkham City. 31, GTA 4. 30. Oh yeah, we've skipped a bunch there then. So between 34 and 31. So we've got...
I thought we might have done.
Yeah, but I can shift the ones that we've got there up a bit.
Well, I don't know if I've got much that's controversial further up, but okay then. So, should we just shift them down just to fill that gap for now?
Yeah.
So, I'd got at number 20, Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii. Where had you got?
I actually did have that pretty low down, because I'd never really heard of it.
Honestly, when we discussed this podcast, Robbie, tech and gaming, you were like, yeah, I like gaming. I've just never heard of Nintendo.
Well, that's because you're like 90% Nintendo, and I've never really played Nintendo.
So, I've put Galaxy the lowest of the Mario games that are on this list. But I still think it was pretty highly reviewed. I'm happy to fill one of those lower gaps with it if you'd like to drop it down a bit, though, if you had it quite low, because I'm not convinced that it's necessarily as high as I've placed it. So,
no, I think the next lowest makes sense, which would be like 18.
Well, it's still 2 places higher than I had it. Oh, do you want to fill one of those 30 blanks we've got?
Yeah, what else did I have low? We've already done Bioshock, haven't we? So, as much as it pains me, I actually had Halo quite low down. I had Halo at 20.
I've got Halo at 8.
Oh, yeah, and my logic around this, again, is really stupid, because I'm like, oh, I'm sure the later Halos were more popular, but they're not on the list, so they mustn't have been. So, I'd agree maybe it is higher than I've put it.
Do we go for somewhere in the middle there? Do you want to split the difference?
Have we placed Orange Box yet? We still haven't placed it.
I don't think we've placed it yet. Where do you want to put Orange Box? Because it's number 6 for me.
I don't think it's going to be that high.
No? Give me a number then, because you've got the list in front of you. I don't know where our gaps are.
I'd say next, which would be 18.
Okay. Go on. Yeah, no. It's all about compromise. Let's do it. Put it down the list.
Okay.
Where have we put Mario Galaxy then? Have you filled one of those?
Yeah,
I think you I think you should probably put it into one of those voids further down in the 30s that you had, unless you've moved things around yet.
I have moved things around, but I can move things around again.
No. Well, put it wherever you've got your next lowest entry then. Is there a one in the 20s or something we've opened up or something?
Nope. They're all back to back now, down to 19, 18.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'll put it at 19 then.
Well, actually, it would be 17 if it was after Orange Box. Or do you think it's before Orange Box?
I think it's before Orange Box.
Okay, I'll do Orange Box at 17.
Deal. I had got Metroid Prime down this end of the list.
Again, no idea.
What did you have it scored as? Because you've not mentioned it yet.
I thought it was more popular than that. I put it at like 5.
Really?
Yeah, because
I don't think it was.
The remaster was announced recently, wasn't it? And I thought there was lots of hype around it because there was so much excitement about the original.
Oh, because they're all waiting for Metroid Prime 4.
Oh.
Which Nintendo have been sat on as a working title for years.
Remake. Yeah.
No, the remake did go down well. Don't get me wrong, it's a very good game. I just don't think compared to the stuff above it, it would have reviewed that highly.
I'd go with that.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
16 it is.
I've then got a couple I think we've already placed now. So I Grand Theft Auto 3. I think we've positioned that already.
Yep. That's
Gran
position 20.
Turismo, and then I've got Grand Theft Auto 4 directly above that, which I think we've also placed.
Yes,
Did we
have. It was actually lower down, 33.
That's okay. And then I've got Mass Effect 2, which I think we've also discussed.
We hadn't placed, though.
Ah. Okay. But you had it quite low, didn't you?
I did, but I don't know anything about it. So.
Should we insert it now then, as neither one of us has it any higher than we're currently at?
Yeah, 15 it is.
What did you have next?
Or what have you not the list now, so I'm all mixed up. We're coming around to around... Yeah, I put Super Mario Galaxy 2 there. I wasn't sure.
So I'd got that a few places higher, but not by much at 11. I'm happy to concede and put that next.
Yep, so that would be 15. No, 14, sorry.
14. Now, a question for you. I assume we are both on the same page that we believe Resident Evil 4 is better than Super Mario... Well, I had it worse, but you're saying it's better than Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
I'd got that next in my list.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Mine was about 12, so yeah, not too far off.
Cool. And then I'd got Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker.
I mean, I put that like 30s, so I haven't got a clue.
I think it's better than the other Zeldas we've had so far, but I don't know that it would have been as high as the ones I'd put at the top.
We hadn't placed Tears of the Kingdom yet, had we? Or we're going to come to that later?
Well, you think that's really low, don't you? But you didn't know what it was.
Yeah. So,
I think there's a very good chance it's at the top of the list.
Okay.
Or there or thereabouts. I'll be honest, I'm pretty confident, he says with no confidence, that Ocarina of Time is number 1. I think that's roundly considered the best game of all time.
Oh, okay.
But
I'd agree with that.
You didn't even know what it was? What did you have as number 1?
I had that, to be fair, I had that as number 2.
Okay.
Number 1, I had Super Mario Odyssey.
So I had Mario Odyssey at 7. But I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I also put that there, hoping that was the most popular one, because I don't really know Super Mario again, so it could have been the Galaxy ones. I could have been all wrong.
I think it is probably better reviewed. I think it's considered by most to be the superior Mario.
Yeah.
Especially in the absence of Mario 64, which I thought could have trumped it like back in the day, but it hasn't, so it's not there. I know Galaxy 2 was really well reviewed, as was Galaxy, but I feel like Odyssey probably came out on top. Whether it's that far up the list, I'm not sure. Because there's a lot of other stuff in here from other consoles that also reviewed really well, although Odyssey was unanimously popular.
What did you have next then?
Further down, the bottom end. So I had
around the 11, 10 mark.
So Wind Waker was my number 14. Don't know if we positioned that one already.
We've positioned at 11, yeah.
I then had the 2 Half-Life games, which we've already done.
Yep.
So my number 12 was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes, I had that as well.
So we locked that one in?
Yep.
Did you have it as better or worse than Super Mario Galaxy 2, though?
Better. But I don't know, because I had Super Mario Galaxy 1 in the top 7. At number 7.
I mean, you're laughing like you're wrong here, by the way. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean that you're wrong. I could be massively wrong. So, I guess the question is, do you want to put Galaxy 2 underneath Red Dead Redemption and move them around? I'd got them the other way around, but literally next to each other, so I'm indifferent. I do think Red Dead Redemption 2 will have done really well.
Yeah.
But I was really struggling at this point to kind of pick and choose what I thought was above it. But I've got stuff here that you also didn't think was as high as I've got it, so we shouldn't be entirely led by what's left on my list.
Yeah. I think we're down to the top 10 now.
Okay.
So should I read out the ones that are left?
Yeah.
So we've got Super Mario Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Ocarina of Time we're already listed as 1. But
We're gonna lock that in as our number 1?
Yeah, I'm going to lock that in as number 1.
Okay.
We've got Breath of the Wild that needs to be placed.
Mm-hmm.
We've got GTA 5, which needs to be placed. We've got the original Halo. We've got Tears of the Kingdom.
Some banging games in here. Yeah.
And Uncharted 2.
Yeah.
And, well, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater got 3 has already been placed at 8. But
So I have a feeling that perhaps Uncharted maybe is the next one in our list then. I'd got that in at kind of number 9.
I'd go with that.
I think it was the best reviewed, obviously, of the series. It was very popular. Not quite sure it trumps the others on the list, but it could be wrong.
Yeah.
We still haven't placed Halo, have we? Which was my next one. But
I think that would be
higher.
Next. Given the other games that are in the top.
Yeah?
I don't know.
What I'm questioning in my head is I've put Zelda 1, 2, 3, and now I feel like that's probably not right.
But I honestly couldn't tell you about Tears of the Kingdom.
Breath of the Wild was incredibly popular, and Tears of the Kingdom was reviewed really well as well. I don't know.
My 1, 2, 3, I think, at this point would be Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, and then Super Mario Odyssey.
Do we go with it?
Yeah.
Go on, put those in then. Let's put those in. I'm worried.
What we've got left to place is we've got Tears of the Kingdom to place.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Halo and GTA 5.
GTA 5's got to be in the top 5, hasn't it?
I think so.
Although, no, they treated it separately. When it was first released, the online was fundamentally broken, which obviously has gone on to become the biggest thing of it. Should we go for that next then and just break up the Zeldas a bit?
Yeah.
I feel like Halo probably doesn't beat Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm not 100% sure.
Again, I couldn't tell you. And then are we going to go Tears of the Kingdom and then Halo?
Yeah, I think so. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So is that our list?
It is. Now, I've definitely messed up somewhere. We might have to... I think I've got duplicate numbers at some places that might have to be overwritten, which is fine. So I'll read them out from top to bottom. You tell me if you're happy with the order, or if you want things switching around. Ones that are next to each other, basically. So we've got Ocarina of Time was the top one.
Mm-hmm.
Breath of the Wild, number 2. Super Mario Odyssey, number 3. GTA 5, number 4. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as number 5.
Mm-hmm.
The original Halo, number 6.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, number 7. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, number 8. Let me just fix this list now because it's really confusing trying to read out these.
Let's just get the top 10 right, I think, for now, because that's the thing where we're going to be most interested.
Red Dead Redemption as number 9, and Elder Scrolls as number 10. That's Skyrim.
Okay. So, we've got our full list.
We do.
I think, just in the interest of time, we'll post the link. I've just put it into our notes, Robbie, so I don't know if you want to pull it up in the background. I can tell you now, we've got number 1 spot on.
You've got number 1 spot on.
And then it goes to hell pretty quickly, I'll be honest.
Oh,
so
what? Oh, I've just seen the list.
Yeah.
So
okay,
here we go.
For YouTube watchers, we'll put it on screen as well.
Ooh, wrong one.
So I'll go from number 1 down, and we'll just kind of see where we were. So number 1, we got absolutely right. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I think that's probably something I've known for a while, in my head anyway. So probably slightly unfair. I knew that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 was the higher of the games. I didn't think it was number 2.
That's ridiculous.
You overruled me. But,
I'm going to disagree with a lot with these top 10.
Number 3 is Grand Theft Auto 4, another one that I believe your words were, I think that was pretty unpopular. But was at the top. And then, to my shock and horror, number 4 is Soul Calibur. Then we got Grand Theft Auto 5, which I think we placed correct. Oh no, 4 again. That's the Xbox 360 version, so ignore that one. Super Mario Galaxy better than Super Mario Galaxy 2. That's a surprise.
Also better than Odyssey.
Both better than Odyssey, yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2 coming in the top 10. I think we had that in a similar position.
Yeah.
Not too far off. Grand Theft Auto 5 then.
I can't believe GTA 5 is less
than
highly
4.
rated than 4.
Than 4, yeah. And then, again, it's a product of its time, though, isn't it? It's the critics, the different people around it.
Yeah.
Because then look at number 11, Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium.
Now, these numbers are a bit out of sync here, because at this point, we've duplicated consoles and whatever else, but we're just kind of running through the order of the games. Breath of the Wild doesn't appear till number 14 in this list, and is followed by Pro Skater 3. So I'm very surprised by that. Perfect Dark coming in above GoldenEye. So I was right about Perfect Dark being reviewed as the better game. Metroid Prime then is the next unique title in the list, which again is quite high. Grand Theft Auto 3 better than Super Mario Odyssey.
Wow.
Surprised by that. And both better than Halo.
I could see that, to be fair. Halo was... Yeah, no, I could see that.
And then NFL 2K 2001 is at 23.
Yeah.
Which in our list would be slightly higher, because we would have taken out some of the duplicates. Better than Half-Life 2. Mind blown. Bioshock then, coming in above GoldenEye.
Oh, Breath of the Wild again, sorry, yeah. Bioshock.
Yeah, it was another duplicate. Tears of the Kingdom, we haven't even seen yet, which is the latest one. GoldenEye, Uncharted 2. So GoldenEye better than Uncharted 2. Now, obviously, if you put the two side by side, you'd never score it that way. But there was probably there was decades between them. So it was a 20-year gap. No, 10-year gap. 10-year gap? Yeah, 10-year gap. Resi 4 coming below Uncharted, and then the Orange Box together.
That's about right
sandwiched.
for Resi 4.
Yeah,
the
I think
Orange
it's about
Box.
right. Surprised by that. I genuinely thought that would have been better placed than any of the unique games from within it, but clearly not.
My understanding that, well, you might be right with the Portals and maybe TF2.
Yeah.
But...
Well, we'll find out. We're getting down. Oh, God, we've got another one. Batman Arkham City. We've then got followed by Tekken 3 and then Elden Ring. I'm quite surprised. I mean, if you look at the scores, to be fair, Elden Ring at 35 is a 96. Ocarina of Time is a 99. It's a 3-point swing.
I know. Have we seen Skyrim yet?
I don't think we have. Mass Effect 2, followed by The House in Fata Morgana, which not bottom of the list. In fact, better than Elder Scrolls, which is coming in just after it, which is also worse than Zelda, the Twilight Princess, which also surprises me massively.
Wow.
Yeah. Half-Life again, and then we've got The Wind Waker coming in above Gran Turismo, and then at 45 in this list is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom,
the latest one.
which was my number 2. So that's got
again. No,
wrong.
It's people are more critical now, right? There's a lot more critics out there.
And again, look at the score, 96. I mean, we've had 96 for most of these games now. Bioshock, then followed by Metal Gear Solid 2, the Grand Theft Auto Double Pack, which was indeed GTA 3 and Vice City.
Liberty City. Vice City.
Yeah, and then Portal's Companion Collection, and then Baldur's Gate 2 is the 50th. And in fact, Portal and Baldur's Gate were the first time the score dropped from 96 to a paltry 95. And one of the games, actually, that when I was looking at this list, I was surprised wasn't in there, given all the Grand Theft Autos that were, was San Andreas and Vice City, which creep in at 51 and 52.
I'm surprised GTA San Andreas isn't higher than
and
the
me.
others.
So falling just outside the list.
Like the double packs.
I mean, it's weird. I don't want to get too much into the Beyond 50s at this point, but the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition is a promotional disc. It's not even a full release, but it's got some old classic games on, including Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Thing is, though, we're
That's
not
a
looking at
slightly
like
odd one, isn't
sales and stuff, though, are we? We're looking at
no critics reviews, but it just
But
seems
it
odd
might
to
be
me
just
that
an amazing
that
version of the
collection. Well, it's just collections of old games
Yeah.
because none of them were released on the GameCube. But anyway, there you go. That is the top 50. How did you do at home? Did you beat us? I mean, frankly, probably not that
That
difficult
would be hard
based
to
on
do.
that performance. But hopefully you enjoyed that and you played along and had a bit of fun with it. We'll put the full list as well as the link to Metacritic so you can check your own scores if you want to, all in the show notes. So please do check that out. Thank you again for joining us and sticking with us for this slightly unusual episode. You can absolutely get access to all of our podcasts and any other content we produce either via our YouTube channel at Jay and Robbie or via all good podcast services. And you can also watch us stream most Sundays a variety of video games, and we're currently playing Halo Infinite and thoroughly enjoying it. So keep an eye out for those notifications to let you know when we're going live over on YouTube. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next.